Can and will Lamar Jackson win the MVP in the 2023 NFL season? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Now, in this video today, I'm going to be talking about Lamar Jackson. I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects in sports outside of history is probably MVP, and really not just necessarily like, oh, who should have won, but more of the concept, the way that the MVP happens, how the award is given out, the way that throughout the season it changes, to different players, and the way that narratives play a role versus expectations versus actual results versus statistics. All of it. I love it in all sports. I love it in football. I love it in basketball. I love it in baseball. Shout out to Ronald Acuna Jr. as a Braves fan. I got to say it. Hopefully the MVP in the National League this year. But let's talk about Lamar Jackson, because obviously he won the MVP in 2019. The last couple of seasons he hasn't really been close. I think his best opportunity to win MVP again was probably in that 2020 season. But, maybe 2021 prior to injury. I mean, really, Ravens fans have talked about him. Oh, he's playing really well. He could win the MVP. But the national media hasn't given Lamar Jackson the light of day when it comes to winning the MVP since he won the MVP in 2019. And let's talk about whether or not he has a real shot at it this year, because, a lot of people think that anyone can just win MVP. And that's true in the sense that if someone throws for 5,500 yards, their team's the number one team in their conference, and they throw for, 45 touchdowns, yeah, that's basically an automatic bid to win the MVP. But most of the time, nobody puts up a historic season. And so then it comes down to, okay, here are the 5 players. And then when it comes down to those 5 players, right, you got your Mahomeses, you've got your Joe Burrows, you've got your Josh Allens, the guys that are going to put up really good stats, the guys that are also going to put up a lot of yards, or you'll have the surprise player, right, the guy that overperformed expectations. Those top 3 guys I named, very high expectations, so the expectations for them to be great, they were great. Then you have the guy that surprised a lot of people. That was Jalen Hurts last year. He almost won the MVP because he surprised a lot of people. Not a lot of people were expecting it, for him to come out and the Eagles to come out and be as dominant as they were. And, at the end of the year, he got injured. He missed a game or two. And then Patrick Mahomes was able to kind of climb back in and take the award from him. But expectation, the way that the season progresses, you have to finish on a high note, right? Because you don't start off the MVP. We've seen this. I think the prime example is Russell Wilson with the Seattle Seahawks, because the first 5 weeks of the season, how many times did we hear Russ is the MVP in his career? Probably 5 times, where he just starts off crazy hot and then slows down towards the end of the season, loses momentum. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. So those are kind of the main things when it comes to winning the MVP. But the biggest thing that we can look at with Lamar Jackson right now is the expectation, because we can't say, oh, well, Lamar, if he puts up these stats, he'll win. Yeah, you can say that with anybody though. But the expectation for Lamar Jackson right now is to return to being a good quarterback. But most people in their quarterback rankings, they're not putting him top 3. They're not putting him top 4 typically. You see some people put him top 5. If you guys want to know, he's number 4 for me. Hopefully after this year, he's number 2. I'd love it if he was number 1, but I don't think he's passing Mahomes. I think 2 through 4 is very close between Burrow, Allen, and Lamar. But that's besides the point. A lot of people have him 7th, 8th, 9th in their quarterback rankings in the NFL. So the expectation is, yes, he's very good. But when he won MVP, he was the best, if not the second best, quarterback in the NFL that season. He exceeded expectations. So Lamar Jackson does have the ability to exceed expectations. The Ravens are not looked at as a dominant team for the regular season. They're looked at as a good team. But when you're hearing people do the debates of who's going to win the AFC, right? What teams do you hear? You hear the Chiefs, obviously. You hear the Chargers a little bit. You hear the Bengals a lot. You hear the Bills. And you maybe hear the Jets if someone's a big Rodgers fan or something like that. The Ravens are rarely brought up. So when you're thinking about who's going to have the best record in the AFC, probably the Chiefs. But the Ravens, if they're able to have, one of those high-end records and be close to the Chiefs, they don't even have to be the number 1 seed. But if they're close, all right, that throws them in contention. And then it comes down to the numbers, Lamar versus Mahomes. But the final thing, right, is you have to look at the comparisons between this season and 2019, because I think a lot of people will not recognize the biggest thing, and that's that in 2019, the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson got a new offensive coordinator, and they took the lead by storm. That is because it was unique. Greg Roman's system, it was unique to the NFL at that time. Lamar Jackson came in. He kind of struggled in the original Ravens offense. They still were able to put together wins, but he wasn't putting up great numbers. Greg Roman comes in, boom, offense, dominant. You're putting up great numbers, and it all of a sudden looks like, okay, the Ravens are a dominant force. Next couple years, Greg Roman declines, or honestly, Greg Roman stays exactly the same. Everybody else just catches up to him. But now we have Todd Monken coming in. And Todd Monken, we've seen the offense before from Todd Monken. He is not a new coach to the NFL. But we've never seen his offense with a player like Lamar Jackson at the helm. That athleticism, that ability to make plays outside of the pocket, all of those aspects are completely unknown. We have never seen a player play in a pro-style offense like Todd Monken, a pass-heavy offense with the rushing ability of Lamar Jackson. Maybe you could say Michael Vick was a player that, played in a passing offense, but had the running ability. But I think they're different in the way that they run, so I don't like comparing the two. I think they're drastically different runners. Lamar's a finesse runner. Vick is, I call him a bolt runner. He's just crazy fast. That's what he does. Crazy quick, crazy fast. Lamar Jackson is like grooving through everybody. Vic just like zooms through everybody. I don't know if that makes much sense, but that sort of ability to throw and run in an offense hasn't been seen in the NFL. I mean, look at Justin Fields. Justin Fields, first off, drastically underrated. I'll probably talk about Justin Fields in a video at some point. I'll definitely talk about him in my quarterback tier list rankings, but Justin Fields is not nearly as good of a runner as Lamar Jackson. But he played last year in an offense that was trying to pass the football. But he was able to dominate teams by just scrambling. Because the teams now are used to the designed quarterback runs that the Ravens were trying to do with Lamar Jackson, but the scrambles are where it gets very difficult to defend. Lamar Jackson and Todd Monken could absolutely use this to their advantage and take the league by storm once again by having a passing offense with a mobile quarterback that's able to get extra yardage and make extra plays. Now, when you're looking at it, in terms of the favorites for the MVP, that's the biggest thing, is who's going to be in that conversation. In terms of odds to win the MVP, Mahomes is plus 700, Burrow is plus 750, Allen and Hurts are plus 800, and then Lamar Jackson is plus 1200, leading, just ahead of T-Law and Justin Herbert at plus 1400. So Lamar Jackson is fifth in odds. So the expectation is going to be in that race, and that's going to make it more difficult, but overall, there's absolutely a chance that he does win because of the way that the Ravens' schedule is set up. Now, remember, I talked about this at the beginning. When it comes to winning MVP, something that has to happen is it's not a tail end. It's a high finish. And the Baltimore Ravens have all of their primetime games at the end of the year. So if Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are pretty good, and people aren't talking about them a lot, but maybe they're, 8-3, 8-4, whatever. Then the end of the year, people start seeing him more on primetime, and they go, oh, wow. And he shoots up because he's, 4-touchdown game, big blowout victory, comeback win, game-winning drive, whatever it is. All of a sudden, he shoots and it goes, oh, yeah, he should be the MVP. We've seen the numbers from other people, but we haven't watched him nearly as enough because the sports media shows and the national media really controls the narrative. And Lamar Jackson has that narrative because people at least want to talk about him. And that's something that I don't think Hurts has. I think Mahomes obviously has it. I think Burrow has it, and I think Allen has it. Those are kind of the four players, I think, behind Lamar. I think Herbert and T-Law have it as well. But those are players that the national media loves to talk about as, oh, is this guy the MVP? Is this guy the MVP? Can he dethrone Mahomes? Can he dethrone Mahomes? That's what it's going to be talking about. And at the end of the year, when the national media is playing, and it's Lamar Jackson, That's what they're going to see. And remember, Lamar plays, I believe, T-Law and Herbert and Burrow in prime time. Those are 3 of the top 7 MVP candidates this upcoming season. And they're all going to be played down the stretch in prime time. If Lamar Jackson plays well in those games, he can absolutely win the NFL MVP. I wouldn't count him out. I think there are some players that won't win 2 MVPs or even win 1 MVP in their career because it's a tough award to win. You can never lock in and say somebody's going to win the MVP this season before the year. It is very difficult. There are a few NFL legends that some people consider top 5 all time that didn't win MVP. Look at Drew Brees. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for NFL content, and I'll see all of you again next time.